has to be some common sense.
Yes, sir. They have the car stopped at 10th and Ranch, Michael Byler.
We still don't know who pulled the trigger.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Police Off the Cuff, Real Crime Stories. I'm your host, retired NYPD Sergeant Bill Cannon, a 27-year veteran, retired out of Manhattan North Homicide Squad. And with me today is retired NYPD Detective and straight out of Brooklyn, Phil Grimaldi. How you doing tonight, Phil?
I'm doing pretty good, Billy. How about you?
I'm doing good. You know, I a lot of things going on with the Kiley Rodni case. There's a lot of conjecture. There's a lot of conspiracy theories. There's some misinformation. I just want to mention Adventures with Purpose has done an absolutely amazing job with this. And, you know, in finding the car and the body after law enforcement had searched the Presser Reservoir is just simply an amazing feat of great work by a great scuba diver team. But there's some information I've watched, they put the video out today that's going to be formally released to the public tomorrow. And I watched it. And one of the things, there was a tow truck driver, an emergency vehicle driver named Nick, who they interviewed at the very beginning of the video. And he had said that he believed that was called by Kiley and her boyfriend to respond to her vehicle because she had a dead battery in her car. And then it turned out to be that it wasn't that the battery was dead. She had the car in neutral and the car wouldn't start in neutral. So he had figured out, and there was some talk about their demeanor. They seemed a little bit out of sorts and this, that, and the other thing. But Nick couldn't say what day that he ran into them. He said it was either a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday because he then saw the poster of Kiley like a week or two later, and he just couldn't identify her until he saw this poster. And I don't think it was this poster, but he saw her face on a poster, and that rang a bell with him, and he called the police. And I'm sure that all of the information that he gave to Adventures with Purpose, he gave to the police, because you got to realize a tow truck has a dispatcher, so they could get the exact time and the exact date that he responded. And in addition, they have video on the front part and the rear end of the car, so the police could subpoena said video. So that information can be very important, but right now it's not coming across as all that relevant because he couldn't remember what day he ran into them.
Right. Billy, a couple of things with that. First off, he's roadside assistance. He's called for a dead battery. He says that they found that the vehicle was in neutral and it didn't start. That's not true in most vehicles. Every vehicle I know, if it's in neutral, you can shut it off. You can restart it in neutral. I do it all the time with my car. I go into a car wash. I shut it for different reasons, and then I turn it back on from neutral. So I don't think that is even what we're talking about with this particular vehicle. I also had a conversation earlier today with a general manager of a Honda dealership. I asked him about whether or not a vehicle can be rolled backwards in neutral. He said that more than likely, yes. Unless the vehicle is on, that would be the only time. If the vehicle's running, then if it's in neutral, if it's in drive, not neutral. Vehicle's in drive, it won't be able to back up while it's running. If the vehicle stalls and is in drive, it will be able to roll backwards. That's according to the general manager of a local Honda dealership that I happen to know. Now, with regard to the neutral part of the car being in neutral, that doesn't sound right to me. This particular person, Nick, the emergency roadside assistance driver, may or may not be relevant. It may be Kiley and her boyfriend, may not be. However, he couldn't remember if it was Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. He couldn't remember if it was before or after when she was missing. So therefore, Obviously, once he reports this to the police, to the detectives, they're going to do follow-up and find, like you said, Bill, the dispatcher sheet, the call log, when the call came in. Everyone that has roadside assistance that's logged somewhere, whether it be with the dealership that you call or if the roadside assistance company, let's say AAA, there will be records of that. So it will be easy to determine if, in fact, this was Kiley and her boyfriend.
Yes, Lisa Nia, the driver's, I think you probably mean girlfriend, said Saturday. She remembered her dad's birthday was that day, but that's not a notification. That's not a relevant. I can't take hearsay that the driver's girlfriend said. I have to have that definitive evidence for me to go with it.
That's
Either it
called
comes-
hearsay. That's called
Yeah,
hearsay.
either it comes from the police or some verifiable source. That's not a verifiable source. And if we get documentary evidence like video or document that they called the tow truck, that's evidence I'm looking for. The evidence that, like the hearsay evidence saying, oh, the driver's girlfriend said it was Saturday, that's not good evidence.
Good evidence would be what I said, and you said, you brought it up. Well, the dispatcher, whoever dispatches the call, whoever took the call in, that's going to be the definitive answer to whether or not she called roadside assistance for a dead body, whether it before or after she was reported missing. Right now, from what I'm seeing with this, I don't give it a lot of credence. This Nick, the emergency roadside assistance driver, specifically because he described a light gray sweatshirt. He described the young girl wearing a light gray sweatshirt. The sweatshirt that we believe she was wearing was either dark colored gray or possibly black. So again, he's a little off on that. He's not sure of the time. So I am sure the detectives investigating this case figured out whether or not she called roadside assistance before or after she went missing.
One of the amazing things that I saw in the video, and of course the whole dive and the whole sonar and the way that they found the vehicle, I found that to be quite impressive.
Absolutely.
But what was really amazing to me was how close it was to the shore. To me, it appeared to be, let's say, 25 yards. So 25 yards is 75 feet, right?
Right.
It was no further than that.
Absolutely.
And so that to me was sort of incredible to me. And then as you realize, the reservoir was 14 feet deep at that location, which was, say, 75 feet from the shore. So how did she get in there? One of the things that, and Phil, I spoke about this before, we have an acronym in police work, and it's a crazy acronym, but it's called NIATWI. And it's the last letter is actually the acronym, and it means when, where, who, what, why, and how. In every investigation, you want to answer every single one of those questions. And if this is foul play, or if this is a homicide and not an accident, I want to know the why, and I want to know the how. And so far, and I have an open mind, so far the evidence hasn't showed me that there's foul play. But however, many people disagree with me. Many people see foul play in this. And I think maybe, Phil, you want to bring up when they discovered the vehicle and it was on its back, the diver went down there, and the diver's name, I believe, was also Nick.
Nick Wren.
Yeah, he did a complete circumference of the vehicle, and of course the vehicle was upside down. Why don't you tell us what he found relative to the windows?
Bill, I'm going to get to that. I just want to point out two other things real quick. I watched the video very closely. I watched it on a big screen, bigger than my laptop computer screen, and I noticed a lot of different things. But before he even went into the water, he showed that we had the young lady on the other night, Verna, that showed that there was a deep pitch. And then she also said that there was a drop off in the water. So the drop off in the water, I think, is going to be key, because if you get just a short amount of distance into that water, you're going to be in deep water. Let's say 10 feet, 15 feet, whatever it is. Now, like you said, it looks like the vehicle was probably about 50 to 75 feet into the water. You said 25 yards, which would be 75 feet. So when they find the vehicle, he goes into the water. He used a magnet to locate that it was a metal vehicle. They talked about it could be a boat. They weren't sure if the object was a car or a boat. He also made another point before he went into the water. He said that there was a search from the air by the police, and he believed that the bottom of the reservoir, which the police told him that they could see from the air, was probably the same color of the vehicle, which was gray. And if the vehicle was, we know, turned upside down, it would also blend in. So that's probably one of the factors that played into the fact that they weren't able to recover it from the air. However, he goes into the water. He finds that it's a vehicle right away. He sees the license plate. He says to Doug Bishop, who was up on top, on the top of the water in the boat, but they had communication. He says, I found it. It's her vehicle. He goes around to I believe he went to the passenger side first. The passenger side front window was either down or broken out. It wasn't there. The rear window was up. The rear hatch window was intact. That wasn't broken. Then when he got to the driver's side, the front window appeared to either be down or broken away, and the rear was halfway down. So it appears to me, and then he also said he confirmed that there were human remains in the rear section by the hatch of the vehicle. And then you
Right,
could
not the rear seat, the very
yes.
rear
In the rear compartment, it's like a
Yes.
storage compartment in the back. CRVs, you said you had one, Bill, and
yes.
they open up. I'm familiar with the vehicle. So it opens up in the back, and there's like a storage compartment beyond the rear seat. So there's the front seat, there's the rear seats, and then there's the storage compartment, which is accessible to the passenger compartment. So for something to pass through from, let's say, from the driver's seat to get into the passenger, not the passenger, the storage compartment, it's definitely possible. It's not like the trunk of a car where you have to, get out of the car to get into the trunk. So he confirmed that there was human remains in the rear compartment of that vehicle. So again, it's really, really very earth-shattering to watch this video. It's very important. It's very informative. It tells a great amount of information about this vehicle, how it was found. And Bill, you and I talked about how there was some fish floating around, swimming around in there. And then there were some items on the roof of the vehicle since the vehicle was turned upside down. I guess we'll talk about that going forward.
Mountain Kayaker, thank you for the $4.99 super chat. I've launched where she allegedly drove in. There's a drop off before you get to the water. Yeah, I mean, there was also information on where she was parked, and I spoke about that before. For them to know that, they would have to have witnesses that saw her park the car. And I said on another show that I guarantee they have numerous witnesses that saw her get into the car and saw her drive off. There's just too many people at that party for no one to have seen her leave.
Absolutely, Billy. And I'm certain that all of those interviews being done, this is why, you can't jump to conclusions on these type of cases without knowing the inside information, without having the case folder in front of you. There may be a litany of people. There may be more than one person, maybe, quite a number of people that saw her leave. Now, one of the points that he brought up during the video, the 49-minute video that Adventures with Purpose is going to broadcast tomorrow, he makes mention of that, 200 to 300 kids were at this party. There was a lot of alcohol use. There was a lot of drug use. However, there apparently was some type of a fight. And then there was a quick exit from the location. Now, number one, it's dark. Number two, there could be alcohol intoxication. There could be drug use. And if you exit from that area in the pitch black, it's very easy to become disoriented. There's that big drop off when you get close to the water's edge that goes down because of the fact that the reservoir levels are way down in that area of the country due to, I guess you could call it drought conditions. So again, all of those factors lead credence to the possibility that it could be a horrible accident where the vehicle goes into the water. It looks like that one rear window is at least down. The other two windows are not there, whether they're broken out or whether they're, receded into the door frame, that they're rolled down, is really not answered from the video. But it looks like, maybe the windows were open and the water would overtake that car very quickly. And I think it was I think it was Doug that mentioned that because vehicles have air in the tires when they go into the water, and we talked about the weight of the vehicle, he said that it would turn over very easily because the buoyancy, the air in the tires would basically want to direct the car in that position, in the upside down position. You take the weight of the engine and you take the car filling up with water. All of those factors would very easily accommodate the vehicle turning upside down and landing on the roof of the vehicle.
A big question in everybody's mind is, if we had so many law enforcement personnel, the FBI, county, local, state, all looking for Kiley, a lot of them were searching in that area, how you guys were able to find her in such a short amount of time. I mean, what would you say?
It's not a knock on law enforcement. We specialize in underwater sonar technology. It's not an area that law enforcement is used to using every day in the capacity we just used it yesterday to discover Kiley. We look for cars underwater specifically every day. Law enforcement may have to do this, a handful of times a year, and most of the time at boat ramps where they know where the vehicle is and so forth. But we specialize in utilizing this technology, specifically manipulating it to find vehicles.
What did you think when you realized that you had found something?
I had to go over it several times to verify what I was seeing. Using sonar is kind of an art. It's not just a one-time pass and guaranteed what you're seeing. So I went over it several times and I knew it looked suspicious. So at that point, I called Doug over to put a second set of eyes on it. And once we did that, he also verified that, yes, this does look like a vehicle underwater. So at that point, basically you use a fishing magnet to drop on it to see if you catch metal. Once we did that, we were pretty confirmed right then and there that it was a vehicle.
I know you guys do this all the time, but what is that discovery like, especially when, you have quite literally the whole nation looking for this person, and then you guys were able to use your specialized equipment to be able to find her?
It's tragic, but it's an honor to be able to utilize our resources and be a resource for families and law enforcement. It's at the end of the day, we focus on the positives, and that's we were able to provide answers to a family who no longer has to live in a nightmare of not knowing.
Without that kind of equipment, would this have been easy to find? Because I know, again, search crews had been searching that exact location as well.
No, without sonar equipment, it's not impossible to locate vehicles underwater, but it would take a lot longer. You would have to use strictly scuba divers and, search patterns. You would maybe have to drag the waters with grappling hooks, that sort of thing. It's just very time consuming. The cutting edge sonar technology that we use is, a lot more efficient than any other methods of searching waterways.
Sure. Have you been in touch with Kiley's family?
Yes, we have been.
What was that conversation like when you told them what you found?
Within minutes of our discovery, our first priority, once we were able to 100% identify what we located, no ifs, ands, or buts, we did notify family. Kiley's dad and her grandfather were there within 2 minutes of that discovery. And they're very extremely thankful for our efforts. Frustrated, very, very frustrated and concerned. This is a moment for them that they have to do a lot of processing. At this point, now that she's been found, her vehicle's been found, there's a lot of processing and investigations that are now going to ensue.
Phil, I wanted to show that because we're not able to show the most recent video, obviously, because it's copyrighted. I believe it'll be available tomorrow, but we can't show it. But that gives you an idea of what they were talking about in regards to recovering the vehicle. A couple of things I want to talk about in recovering the vehicle, and things that make many people think that this case is in fact suspicious. And someone in the chat just, let me find it. Someone wrote that, what does it matter that Nick, the tow truck driver, doesn't remember what day it was? I forget stuff all the time. Well, the reason it matters is because if you don't remember what day it is, you're not swearable in a court of law. All right? You're not believable if you don't know what day it is. And lawyers would just shred you to pieces on the stand. However, there is backup information on this. They can, in fact, have a telephone call log, and they can get video. And I'm sure the police have subpoenaed the video and subpoenaed the telephone call log. So this guy, Nick, the tow truck driver, I'm sure he's been interviewed, but it is very, very important that you know what day it is.
Listen, the fact that he's talking about possibly, doing a roadside assistance call for Kiley or someone that appeared to be her or looked like her, this is corroboratable by what you said, the telephone log, the records, whoever it was that dispatched the call. So again, we're not saying that he's not important if he's got good information, and maybe he's not going to remember what day it was, but there are ways to corroborate it, and good investigators, which I am sure there are on this case, are going to follow up and corroborate whether or not his information is valid or invalid with regard to Kiley.
The big thing, okay, Phil, I want to go over a couple of things. She's recovered in the back compartment of the Honda CRV. Many people are bothered by that because their reasoning is, how did she wind up in the very back of the CRV if she had a seatbelt on? Maybe she did not have a seatbelt on, or also maybe when the vehicle flipped over and she was in the vehicle for 2 weeks. Could the current have moved her around and she slipped out of the seatbelt? Or could she have gone to the back of the vehicle on purpose because there may have been an air bubble there? I don't know. These are some of the reasons. But to a lot of people, this screams foul play.
Listen, Billy, when the car is on its roof, the weight of the engine, so if the vehicle's upside down, I'm going to use my cell phone as a demonstration. The weight of the engine, this is the front of the car. So the weight of the engine is going to keep the car like that. And you're going to have the roof here. So the vehicle is going to be in that position. A human body is going to have gases that are going to build up, especially over the course of a 2-week period. And those gases may make the vehicle want to float to the top of the area. So that's how the victim's body could have gotten into that position. Or, as you said, it could have been currents that drove it. There's many factors. But again, as I pointed out, if this is the front of the vehicle, the engine compartment, the vehicle is not going to sit like this flat. It's going to sit on a tilt because of the fact that the engine is heavy. So that's going to be down. The vehicle's going to be on an angle. So the body would likely float because the buildup of gases, whether it be, from decomposition or whatever it is going to take the body in that direction just on its own. It's going to want to float to the highest point to get, it would float to the top eventually. As we know, Bill, you and I have dealt with many floaters in our time on the police force. And as a body decays, the gases build up, and that's what makes the body float to the top. So again, I'm not saying that that's exactly what happened in this case, but that's one of the possibilities. Or it could have been, like you said, Bill, just currents, the movement of the vehicle. It could have just pushed the position of the body into the back compartment of the vehicle.
Folks, the video that I was referring to that Phil and I both watched prior to the show, it's only available on the Adventures with Purpose website. And you become a subscriber for $4.99, and you can watch that video tonight. Tomorrow, they are releasing that video to the entire public, free of charge. So tomorrow it will be available. The video I just played was a video earlier on where they were interviewed by a news reporter, and they were talking about how they recovered the vehicle and how they found Kiley. But there's much more. The video that they have on their website right now is 50 minutes long. So if you want to take a look on their website and join, you'd have to sign up for $4.99. You can watch the video tonight, or you can wait till tomorrow when they release it to everyone.
There's about a 5 to 10 minute period where they find the vehicle and he does the dive. And when he does the dive, he has a camera on his gear that he's wearing. So it gives you an up close and personal view of exactly what he saw. You can see that which windows are intact. You can see which windows are not there. It gives a great view of the inside of the vehicle. Uh, Obviously, there's blurred out parts when it comes to where the body was positioned, but there was some items on the drive. I believe it was on the driver's side roof of the vehicle. There were some items. I think someone said it was a Truly, which is a drink. I'm not sure, but it looks like a cell phone charger. You can freeze frame it and look for yourself. But this video is really, really informative. It's very, very interesting. I would suggest if you're interested in this case to watch that tomorrow free of charge, or like Bill and I did, you can sign up on their website, on their YouTube channel, Adventures with Purpose.
You know, folks, some of the things that I've learned about this case, I didn't list as in stone because it wasn't verifiable information by a good source. It was internet chatter and it was hearsay. But when I watched their video, I saw the things that they were talking about videotaped, and there was no doubt that you saw, you know, the window broken, the window down, the car flipped over. Let me play. This was an earlier thing, and this is out there for everyone right now. You can see the vehicle being brought toward the shore. And we had spoken that this vehicle should have, and I believe was, recovered officially by the police, because they're the ones that have to deal with the crime scene and the follow-up investigation. Although Adventures with Purpose spotted the vehicle and notified the police needed, because of chain of custody stuff, they needed to recover this vehicle, and of course the medical examiner on the scene to recover the body.
You have to commend Adventures with Purpose, because the minute that they found the vehicle, they did notify the family first, and then they notified law enforcement, and they backed off, and they allowed law enforcement to do what they have to do, which was obviously recover the vehicle from the water. And then I'm not sure. I know the FBI was involved in the investigation. I know that the FBI is going to do the forensic examination of the vehicle, which probably already took place. But I'm not sure if they're present on the scene from the video that you see. But again, all top-notch law enforcement officials will be involved in this case, and I am certain that they're going to have a conclusion to this case shortly.
You know, folks, I see a lot of people in the chat saying that the hatch of the CRV is tiny. It's not. It's about 5 feet long and probably about 4.5 feet wide. I've owned 3 CRVs. I own a 2011. I owned a 2016. So I don't know why people are saying that the hatch is tiny. It's not tiny. That's when you were food shopping. That's where you would put 4 or 5 bags of groceries back there. So it's not a tiny area at all.
It's definitely not huge, but it's not tiny. Like you said, you could probably fit a couple of suitcases in there, a bunch of packs, probably fit a couple. Kiley appears to be a petite individual, so I don't think it's beyond the realm of possibility that her body could wind up in that compartment.
You know, I think, though, that, Phil, this is the one point I think that people are having a hard time with, and in finding that it's hard to believe that this was not foul play. How did she get out of her seatbelt, and how did she wind up in the back of the car? That's what people are having a problem with.
Well, we don't know that she had her seatbelt on when she went into the water. That's right off the bat. And the possibility exists that if she did have it on, she could have taken it off in a panic to get out of the vehicle, or she could have succumbed to the water, drowned in her seatbelt, and then the body could have slipped out of the seatbelt, the driver's seatbelt, by the fact of what I talked about earlier, the positioning of the vehicle, the gas is building up in the body. So there are several scenarios where the seatbelt being on or not being on could come into play, and that the body could wind up in the position that it was in. So I don't find it highly suspicious at all. I think it's quite possible that maybe she didn't have the seatbelt on, or took it off in the moment of panic when she realized that she was in the water and possibly going to drown.
Well, I just can tell you that when Nick the diver came up on the video that is on their website that'll be released tomorrow, he came up and he looked and he said that this looks suspicious when he found her in the rear of the Honda. Now, I mean, I don't know why he said that or if he really does feel that way, but that's something that will have to be determined by a lot more evidence than just someone stating that it looks suspicious.
Well, Bill, the first thing that comes to my mind when he said that, the first thing that came to my mind when he said that was, you hear about people being killed and put in the trunk of a vehicle and then pushed into the water. That's probably what made him come to that conclusion. It's kind of like a typical scenario with homicides when they dump a body. However, I don't think we're going in that direction in this case. I feel very confident that this is going to wind up being an accidental death. Uh, the fact that the body was in the position it was in the location of the vehicle that it was in, yes, to a novice, to someone that's not experienced in homicide investigation or just general investigation, police, law enforcement investigation, that may seem suspicious. I get it. But when you're taking all the other factors into account, autopsy results, the autopsy itself, all of the eyewitness testimony that they're going to have from the people at the party beforehand, I think the conclusion, in my opinion, is going to be that it was an accident.
I talk about, and I've spoken about a lot, that investigation is an art and a science. And much of the science is not back yet. And we are all waiting for the autopsy results to give us cause of death. That'll answer a lot of questions. The autopsy has not come back yet. The toxicology takes anywhere from 4 to 8 weeks. I hate to give that window, but that's how long it takes. So we won't have the toxicology back for a while. Now, whether the police release the findings of their investigation in the time frame of people that want it and people on the internet that are finding this highly suspicious, that remains to be seen.
Absolutely, Billy. In all the cases that I've worked on with toxicology reports, I've never seen one come back. The earliest would be 5 or 6 weeks. So I think that's the time frame that you're probably looking at for the results of the toxicology. And again, just because it's back doesn't mean they're going to broadcast it to the media right away. They probably will have some type of a conference with the family, explain to them what it is they found. And then from that point, perhaps we'll get a rundown on exactly what was found in young Kiley's system with regard to possible narcotics or alcohol.
I think that's a good picture that you're looking at now, where the car is. However, you're not able to view the windows. You're not able to view the condition of the car. And again, they take the car away to be forensically examined by the FBI and all things that you're all talking about. Folks, I understand it, and everyone's making a good point, that the distance between the headrest and the ceiling of the car is very small. However, between the seats, there's a lot of distance between, for example, the gear shift and the roof. And someone could go through that space. Same thing in the back seat. There's 2 seats have headrests, and then you could go over the top in the middle seat. So it's
The other thing that's not being taken into account is that perhaps, and we brought this up several times, there was an air pocket in the rear part of the compartment, and that's what she was trying to get to. You have to take it apart piece by piece. I mean, it looks like windows were open on this vehicle. So there was probably just a couple of seconds before it was engulfed in water, not a long period of time. If the windows are rolled up, perhaps the vehicle can stay afloat, or there could be air inside the vehicle for, I believe someone in Inventions with Purpose had, in another video said 30, 45 seconds to a minute, something of that nature. Now, again, with the windows open, it's going to be seconds and the car is going to go under quick. And perhaps she went towards the back to get away from drowning with the air pocket, like I said, and maybe she thought she could open the hatch and get out through that way and was unable to. Again, we don't know exactly, but there are several scenarios. And Bill, you're making a great point. There isn't a lot of room between the headrest and the roof, but I think there's enough room for a body to pass over. And then the space in between the seats. The armrest is kind of low on that vehicle. So there's a very big gap in between the seats between the roof, from the armrest, let's say, to the roof, has got to be close to 3 feet, 2.5 feet, something to that nature. So again, a body could probably easily pass through there and then make it to the rear compartment.
Folks, the police interviews is going to answer, if there is foul play, the why. Many people believe there is foul play. I've had people come right out in the chat and say, this is a murder. I don't know why they think that, but the results of the interviews done by the detectives will answer the why. And then it'll also answer the how. How did this happen? Is it suspicious that a window was down, one window was broken? Is it suspicious that she's in the back area of the car? To some people, that's like a smoking gun. To me, it doesn't convince me that this is foul play. It just doesn't. I still view this as an accident until I have scientific evidence listen, I've been wrong before, and I want to make that clear. I have experience. I did 10 years in homicide, 16 in the detective bureau. I've made mistakes before. We all have. But based on what I see right now, to me, it still looks like a vehicle accident.
Bill, I just want to indulge you for 2 minutes. I want to tell a quick story about a case that I worked on that started out as a homicide. So we get a call that there's a male under a vehicle. It was over in Bay Ridge, right next to Owl's Head Park. And he had a plastic bag over his head and he was underneath the vehicle. All the telltale signs of a homicide. So when we get to the location, we start to look around. We start canvassing the houses across the street. And my partner and I start observing the body. Now, we cannot touch the body until the medical examiner responds. So we didn't even go into his pocket to see if he had identification. The male was face up under the car. And it was very odd because I'm going to stand up to just give a quick demonstration. One of his hands was down like this and his other hand was in that position. So he's laying on his back. He's got the bags over his head. One hand is down and the other hand is about midway of his chest. And the bags are twisted in a manner right about the same side and just maybe a foot away from where his hand was on that side of his body that was up. So when the medical examiner comes to the scene, I had said to my partner, something is strange about this. It's possible this could be a suicide. His hand is up. Maybe he twisted the bags. So I tell the medical examiner when he gets on the scene, now this medical examiner, I'm not going to mention his name. He looked at me like I was crazy and said, "Detective, what are you trying to pull? You're trying to pull the wool over my eyes? I've seen hundreds of these. If a guy's got a bag over his head, it's a homicide." So we start to do the body. We start to move the body out from underneath the vehicle. We find the guy's identification, his wallet. And in his pocket, I find a white piece of paper, and it's folded up. And it's the gentleman was Chinese, and it was in Chinese handwriting. So there was obviously a crowd on the outside the crime scene, and I seen a young Chinese a student, I guess he was probably about 17 or 18 years old. And I go over to him and I said, "Could you tell me what this says?" And it says in Chinese, "I'm sorry, I kill myself." We later found out that the person had advanced stage cancer and he wound up committing suicide. But if I tell you, when I showed the note and I made the individual tell the medical examiner, he really didn't know what to say. He felt very, very foolish, I guess. But the point is this: you can have something in front of you and it might look like something super suspicious, and then it turns out not to be. So again, you have to be able to switch gears. When you're an investigator, if everything points in one direction and you don't keep open the possibility of something else, you're making a grave mistake, especially in that situation. Everything was roped off. They were treating it as a homicide, and it turned out that it was a suicide. So
Jay Taylor, only toxicology results would be relevant from the autopsy. No other autopsy details would be relevant. That's so not true.
100% not true.
100% not true. First of all, what if she was, for the people that are saying this is a murder, what if she was dead before she went into the car?
Blunt force trauma.
The autopsy would indicate that by seeing no water in her lungs. So for you to say that, that's total, and I don't mean to criticize you, but that's totally not true. And the toxicology is separate from the autopsy. It's done in a lab, and that's like 6 to 8 weeks after the autopsy. Lynn, thank you for the $2 super chat. Will they give us a preliminary report minus 16? You know, the police, they'll report on it in their own due time. They don't owe anyone a report. Of course, the media with freedom of information laws are going to be, you know, they're going to try to be getting the autopsy. They're going to subpoena or put a freedom of information request to get the autopsy results. And of course, probably the toxicology. The autopsy, I would say, is probably completed. However, they still have not released the information.
A lot of information is going to come out of that autopsy. I mean, perhaps there could be stab wound, bullet wound, there could be broken bones, there could be trauma. All of those things will be revealed at autopsy. So that last statement about the only thing that's relevant is the toxicology, obviously somebody that does not know about criminal investigation. So again, there's so many things that are going to come from the autopsy. I could just list a dozen of them right off the top of my head. So that's really, really off base, that statement.
Folks, this is Police Off the Cuff, Real Crime Stories. If you're not subscribed to us, go on our YouTube, hit that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, ring that bell. It's free to subscribe. If you like real crime stories from a police perspective, then you're in the right place. If you want to support us, we have a Patreon with 3 different levels. And we also have a YouTube channel memberships, and we really love our channel members. You can see the people with the green font in our in the chat room. That's our channel members. I want to play a little bit of this, folks. Scott Wagner, detective, NYPD 23 Squad, Spanish Harlem. In death investigations, things aren't always as they seem. Detectives must be open-minded in their investigations. Yes. And Jay Taylor, I apologize. I know I read that now. You meant that as a question, not as a statement. Let me just read what you wrote. Jay Taylor, I'm sorry. Now I lost your statement.
Scott Wagner's right on the money with that statement.
Yes, he absolutely is. So I apologize, Jay Taylor, if that's what you meant. I took it differently, that you meant that as
Well, I want to read a question too from the chat. Marilyn Minetta says, I have a question. Because she was only 16, do we get the results from the autopsy, or do they need family permission? No, the autopsy results are going to be part of public information. It's just going to be a matter of when law enforcement decides to release it. It's at some point, if somebody makes, once it's back, if somebody makes a Freedom of Information Act request, they can get it that way, but more than likely law enforcement will put it out. That's public information.
You know, folks, with a lot of these things that are being so suspicious, and people are claiming that this is a homicide and not an accident, some of them can be answered again by the science. Some can be answered by the interviews that the detectives have completed. However, we do not have access to that right now. We don't know the results of interviews right now. Results of interviews, I was a squad boss. There's some of the most important information you're going to get are results of interviews. And that's what directs the case in a certain direction, are the results of interviews and interrogation. And we don't have that right now. The other thing is Nick, the diver, who said that he felt this was suspicious. This was his first body recovery. You know, so I would think it probably would look suspicious to him. And look, again, I am not a know-it-all. I am not saying I can't totally change with the right evidence to say that, oh, yes, this looks suspicious or there was foul play. But right now, I'm not seeing it.
I agree with you, Billy. And I just want to put into perspective, this is notes that I've been taking over the last few days. And I have a notepad here just from the video today. I mean, that's the stuff that I did as a, investigative from this YouTube channel. Could you imagine the amount of detectives that are working on this case? And the case folder's got to be probably several case folders. Got to be very, very thick. So a lot of work is going into this investigation. And again, Billy, you made a really, really good point. If tomorrow morning they say, well, guess what? The vehicle, the autopsy revealed that there was no water in the lungs. She was dead before she went into the water. But the whole case takes a completely different direction. I don't see that happening. I think the posture of law enforcement all along has been that this is an accident. We're coming up with a lot of different scenarios backing up that claim. And again, everybody is jumping to a conclusion on this. I just don't see it. I've found at least 4 different things from this video that's going to be released tomorrow that even more, dispute the wild conspiracy theories.
Jay Taylor, it's likely an accident, but Adventures with Purpose has made some unusual statements, particularly on Zav Girl channel about the Boca encounter. Do you think that's with law enforcement blessing to apply pressure to someone? It's absolutely without law enforcement's blessing. Law enforcement, if they want to put pressure on someone, they'll do it themselves. They wouldn't ask anyone else to do that. That'd be totally out of bounds. In fact, they wouldn't even want anyone else interviewing witnesses on their behalf. They want complete control of the investigative end of this.
Absolutely. We've gone through this before. Primary witnesses, suspects, persons of interest on a criminal investigation should not be interviewed by anyone but the police. And if reporters try to talk to them, in my experience, I would always tell people close to the family or someone that was a person of interest, don't talk to anyone in the media. You want to control the investigation the best you can. One other point I want to make, everybody's jumping to conclusions because the fact that law enforcement searched the area where the body, the vehicle and the body was recovered. Now, when you get to watch this video that Adventures with Purpose puts out tomorrow, we saw it today. We signed up for it for the $4.99 and we're able to see it. If you look at the sonar that he's looking at, they show the screen and he's saying, all you see is just a bunch of lines. And he says, oh, there's a tire. That's a tire. I think that's a tire. I didn't see a tire. So again, I'm a novice with sonar. I don't know anything about sonar. These guys are experts with it. And it's obvious that they did the search from the air, and from the air that they said that they could see the bottom of the reservoir. They didn't see the vehicle because it was upside down, perhaps. And again, the sonar expertise that Adventures with Purpose exhibits is obviously probably much better than the law enforcement officers that went into that area and did the search.
Attending a party at Prosser Family Campground. Her car was found over the weekend with a body inside.
There you can see, this is right from the video, of course. And there you can see the license plate clearly upside down.
We recovered the vehicle last night. We have located a decedent inside the vehicle. We believe it is our missing person. We have not been able to positively identify, but it's more than likely where we are today.
It's not the outcome this Truckee community was wanting to hear.
Have them find her upside down in her car in the lake was just, thinking about the panic she must have felt was just heartbreaking. I have 2 daughters. She has a daughter. We just really feel for her family.
The discovery was made by a specialty search and recovery team known as Adventures with Purpose. Officials were asked today why they were not able to find the vehicle, even with air resources and spending thousands of personnel hours.
How did we not find it when we were searching? The lake was extensively searched with side sonar, with an ROV. We had divers, we had swimmers. I think that's part of what we're going to have to go back to do and debrief.
But with multiple agencies involved, the Nevada County Sheriff's Office says it's thankful for the collaboration. The Rodni Neiman family responding today with this statement, saying, while we accept this sadness cast under death's shadow, the rising sun shines light upon us, reminding us not to mourn our loss, but to celebrate Kiley's spirit and the gift that we all received in knowing her. Kiley will surely remain with us, even though we will not get her back.
Her poor family. I really feel for her family. It's terrible.
And the community stands behind Kiley Rodni's family as the investigation continues.
My heart breaks for you. My heart just breaks for you. May you find some peace somehow, somewhere in these beautiful mountains, maybe.
A very sad day for everyone here. Now, we're told that an autopsy is scheduled for tomorrow, and a toxicology report should take about 4 to 6 weeks. Chris.
Is reporting live for us tonight.
So, one of the things that, of course, we're all waiting for is the other investigative details to come on, specifically the results of the interview and interrogation, the science, the autopsy, and the toxicology. Um, it's easy for people that don't know the methodology of an investigation to point at the police and say, oh, they screwed up. Oh, they're not doing their job. Oh, this, that. Investigation takes time. If you want a good, solid investigation, guess what? You have to wait. You want it quick? We'll give it to you quick, and it'll be a bag of shit. But if you want a good investigation, I'm sorry. You have to have patience. You have to wait till they cross their T's and dot their I's, till the FBI goes through that vehicle with a fine-tooth comb. You want them to rush because people on the internet are impatient and are making conspiracy theories? Or you want them to do a thorough professional investigation that's going to tell the truth?
They're just not going to use opinion when they conduct this investigation. They're going to use scientific facts. They're going to use evidence. They're going to use all of the results of autopsy and investigation of the crime scene and all of the interviews that are being done. So again, this is not going to be labeled as an accident based on, this is what I think it is, and flubbing all the rest of the evidence. It's going to be done by a thorough team of investigators. And again, we've pointed out so many different things that we feel that it's an accident. And again, not 100% yet. Of course, there's still some facts that we don't know, and I would clearly change gears and switch into another direction if there was something of substantial nature, presented to me. But at this point, I just do not see it.
Mike Russell, Billy C, Philly G, love the channel. You guys are keeping it real. And this got to have everything now time. I believe this could take months to get this figured out unless a big confession or a fact comes. Thank you, Mike. You're right. That's exactly true. And what I just said, and I've said sort of ad nauseum, I love that term, ad nauseum, is that good investigation takes time. And people don't want to wait. People want immediate gratification. We are a society that wants immediate gratification, and if they can't get it quick, they fret and they fill in the blanks, and that's not how investigation works, unfortunately.
Yes, absolutely. That video that is going to be released tomorrow, I think if anybody has question or doubt, watch it, be objective about it. And there's 4 things that I pointed out. One, the guy, Nick, the emergency roadside repair guy, he describes a light gray sweatshirt when we know she was wearing possibly a dark colored sweatshirt. Number 2, the quick drop off of the water. Once you're into the water, it's probably, 5 or 10 feet and you're in deep water. That's very, very important. So if the windows are rolled down and you get into deep water, it's going to fill up that car quickly. Whoever's inside that vehicle is going to go into a panic. Reservoir, number 3, they described the bottom of the reservoir as being the same color as the vehicle and the vehicle being upside down. So again, it could easily have been missed. And then number 4, they talk about a quick exit from this party that Kiley was at. Perhaps there was a fight. Perhaps there was narcotic use. Perhaps there was alcohol use. And again, we don't know what her state of mind was when maybe she left in a huff, in a hurry, and she was rushing. And maybe she wanted to get home, wanted to avoid this confrontation that was going on. She makes the wrong turn. And in that moment of rushing or panic or frustration, whatever you want to call it, she winds up in the reservoir. There's that steep drop from the point where the vehicles can go no further. That's a steep drop. So if you go over that, now you're like really being thrust into the water. So again, if you take all of these factors and put them together, it's really my opinion, and I think Bill's opinion is right on the money. This is an accident.
Once you make that mistake, you got 30 seconds to save your own life.
Yeah, and don't forget 30 seconds with a car filling up with water, and you're turning upside down, and it's dark, so you're disoriented by the darkness, you're disoriented by the water, you're disoriented by being upside down, and you possibly could be disoriented by alcohol or possible drugs. So if you take all of those components, I think most people would wind up in the same situation as Kiley. You know, I mean, forget that you could take the alcohol and drugs out of the equation, and you're still panic stricken in that moment. You're being thrust into water in darkness. It's quite frantic, and I would imagine most people would be panic stricken.
You know, Phil, I bought one of those things that break your window to save yourself tool, save me tool.
You could cut the seatbelt as well.
Why do you think it has a razor on it to cut the seatbelt?
Right.
Why do you need to cut the seatbelt? Because you're so disoriented, you don't know to think enough to press it and get out. And, and you can't see. So that's why the thing is on there to cut the seatbelt.
Well, if you have your seatbelt on and you're upside down and your gravity, you know, your body weight is pulling on it, you may not be able to unlock it, even if you do get to that button. This is why they put those apparatus, the razor is on there to cut the seatbelt. I think everybody that drives a vehicle should have one of those.
You know, I bought two. I bought one for my wife, and I showed her how to use it. You know, because, you know, it's once you know how to use it, I put it on my keys. Because I don't think hanging it on your mirror, that, you know, it could wind up falling off. It could, So I put it on my keys. And, you know, these days your keys are either in your pocket or you put them somewhere else because they don't have to be inside the key thing, because we all have that push button start these days.
Yeah.
So, Phil, just go to a quick commercial here.
Joe Murray, attorney at law. Have you found yourself in a jam? Are you in need of legal counsel in the New York area? Do you need a victim's advocate? Well, Joe Murray is your man. He's not only an experienced trial attorney, he's also a retired 15-year member of the NYPD. He literally knows both sides of the fence. His website is jmurray-law.com. His telephone number is 646-838-1702, or you can email Joe at jmurray-law.com. And if you would like to advertise on Police Off the Cuff real crime stories, just send us a email at policeoffthecuff1 at gmail.com. That's policeoffthecuff1 at gmail.com. We have a national as well as an international audience. Our rates are very reasonable, and it might be the right thing for your business.
Folks, all you new people to this channel, I just want to thank you for coming by. And we would implore you to go on our YouTube, subscribe, hit the thumbs up, ring that bell. If you like,
free of charge to subscribe.
Yeah, if you like things from a police perspective, and you know, we have quite a bit of experience in this podcast, and we thank you for being respectful. Thank you for listening to us, and we may go on again tomorrow once this video from Adventures with Purpose is released to everyone and not just their membership. It'll be out there, and we can actually play some of it on the show tomorrow night. Phil, final words.
Listen, I love when people challenge me on something that I have an opinion on. We try to monitor the chat the best we could. If there's something once we go off the air, you want to put it in the comments, we'll usually review the comments and perhaps we can answer it. As long as you're respectful, you may have the key to a puzzle. You might be of the opinion of something that's very contrary to what we believe. So again, as long as you're respectful, we don't mind that. We try to keep it real on this channel. We have a lot of experience, and our opinion is our opinion. And until something comes forward otherwise, we're going to stick with what we're saying. Again, to Kiley Rodni's family, condolences. God bless her soul. She's gone. At least we know where she is at this point. And thank you, everybody. All the new subscribers and all the new listeners. Keep giving us that thumbs up. Keep subscribing. Thank you again.
Folks, thank you so much for coming by tonight. God bless, and stay safe.
Stay safe, everyone.
One episode just ain't enough.